man. The president's dropping nukes.
The moon is crashing! No. Well, the apocalypse is happening. That much is certain.
Yep.
So what are we going to do about it?
Cross-country trip.
What?
Yep.
No. Absolutely not. What the fuck?
Okay, well, we'll just put a pin in that for now. I mean, hey, we still got power here.
Yeah, and looks like the internet's still working.
Yeah.
Movie?
You're sure we can't go to Seattle?
Yeah.
Fine, movie.
Oh.
We watched a movie today.
How it ends.
Well, how does it end, Matthew?
That's like the worst part.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, it was.
And that says something to me, at least for me anyway.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to move through this movie really quickly because I feel like we have something to say, but I don't know. So, how it ends is a movie starring Forrest Whitaker, the other people. It is an apocalypse movie / road movie / drama. I
Adventure,
think, what was the
mystery.
thing? Action, adventure, mystery, thriller, sci-fi.
No, action, adventure, drama, mystery, sci-fi, thriller.
That's what it was.
Those are all of the genres that are checked on IMDb.
So the whole thing is that you have a guy...
Theo James
is Will. His wife... What's her name?
Samantha. Played by Cat Graham.
Cat Graham, that's what
from the Vampire Diaries fame.
So Will, not wife, sorry, girlfriend, is pregnant. And he wants to go...
Not married. How scandalous.
From Seattle to Chicago to get the blessing of her father.
Which he does.
Forrest Whitaker. No, he doesn't. He goes there, but he doesn't get the blessing.
Oh, no, he goes there for it, but so he goes.
So when he's there, and the father character's like, yeah, you'll never get my blessing till the day I die. Say yes, because I need to know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Why you gotta be so rude?
Why you gotta be so rude?
So the...
fuck that song.
As he's getting ready to leave to head back home, something happens. A seismic event, or a volcano, or nukes. Who knows? Something happens.
Something catastrophic.
And all the power drops out. Like, all the flights are grounded. Everything is just stopped. Dead. He goes back to the parents' place and he's like, hey, I didn't know where else to go. He's like, cool, we're going all the way to Seattle from Chicago, driving, in order to get my daughter. And he's like, okay, yeah, sounds good to me. She's my girlfriend after all.
And then somehow the wife goes away because I completely forget the reason of how she's just not there anymore.
So they start driving. They get into all these different things of, like, people trying to, like, steal their car and steal their gas, and they got to keep fighting him off. He's got one pistol. And he's just trying to... the father character does. And, of course, they don't like each other because he didn't give the blessing and all that. And
by the way, the mom, Nicole Arie Parker, she played Becky Barnett in Boogie Nights and Carol Boone in Remember the Titans.
Well, she was barely in this. So.
Yeah, we were talking about how... we were like, we were talking about expendable characters, and it's like, the mom's the expendable character. They're totally going to get rid of her. Well, we were originally thinking that it was like, okay, they're going to kill her off, but no, they did get rid of her, and she never once was referenced in any other part of the movie.
They put her on a bus. Anyway, so the
damn.
From there, it was moved to. They got to an Indian reservation at one point, and they ran into this
Ricky,
this young mechanic girl who she's got problems at home, but they don't really go into it, so good for them. And they bring her along in order to help them fix the car. They go through a whole bunch more problems over the course of the next couple of days. They end up meeting up with some friends who are in like a Walking Dead style lockdown Alexandria.
They go past a prison break that only has one guy.
And he has taken a cop car and is impersonating a cop. Then they get to this part where they're in forest fires, it seems like. And they're tricked into helping this one woman, and they get all their gas stolen. By the way, throughout all of this, Forrest Whitaker's character, Tom, has
broken ribs
and like a punctured lung and stuff. So he's slowly dying over the course of this whole movie. Ricky ends up packing up because she had to kill a man and she didn't want to do that. So she's not mentioned for the rest of this movie.
No, she kind of just bows out.
Finally, as they have finally bonded, they get to know each other. They finally learn each other's stuff.
She was in The Revenant, apparently.
Good for her. She he finally gives his blessing to Will, and is like, "You're going to be a good father," because she was pregnant with their kid, and they.
You're going to be a good father because you have no other choice.
Yeah, you better be a good father. I'm dying for this.
I'm going to come back from the dead
and he
haunt
dies.
you.
Mind you, I want to make very clear that entire time they were driving a Cadillac. They were driving a Cadillac.
They were driving a Cadillac, and even one
Definitely
point,
Cadillac.
when they fall into a ditch, they find a way to keep the Cadillac in the movie.
There were other abandoned cars they could have taken, but they brought the Cadillac.
Then he took a Jeep.
Cadillac's money ran out.
Yeah, seriously.
So
it's like, okay, we're going to throw away this car now.
So he finally goes alone after Tom's dead. He makes it up to his father's place in Idaho. They didn't have much with this other couple that just kind of showed up for a scene. He's like, all right, you guys stay here. I'm going to take your car and go the rest of the way to my girlfriend. Get Seattle totally in ruins. Absolutely destroyed. But he finds a message from his girlfriend, wife, that says like, hey, I'm at this address. Find me here. We're now deep into the third act. We finally get there. And she is now with some dude who's really like putting the moves on her apparently this whole time. We've never seen him before. His name's Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And so the
biblical.
entire last 10 minutes of this movie is like Jeremiah just being very like, oh, Will,
salty.
I don't like you. You're here, but we're doing that. And
you're fucking the girl that I want to fuck.
Pretty much. And Will's at some point like, hey, I know what's going on. I'm a software engineer. Okay.
The whole thing is a simulation.
This is kind of like how it was in the war game stuff that I've seen. This is how it would have played out. This is all conspiracy and orchestrated stuff. It's not just
that's because Jeremiah was in Arrival.
Mind you, the stuff that we've been seeing, we've seen a massive thunderstorm, just like huge amounts of lightning straight out of the core.
Yeah, like the hyper-electric storms.
A volcano exploding.
It was definitely like Mount St. Helens.
Magnetic
or something
field
like that.
is completely ruined. Compasses are just spinning.
Yeah, you see the
regular earthquakes.
Like the birds are all freaking out because of all like
crazy.
the radio waves and everything like that going back. Magnetic
knows?
field's fucking up. Yeah.
So we're not clear as to what actually legitimately happened, and they don't make it clear. The movie ends with Jeremiah and Will getting into confrontation. Will shoots Jeremiah, and then the volcano that just happened to be nearby
there
starts exploding. They have to outrun the ash cloud, and they're like, listen to me. I love you. Cut the credits.
Yeah, they outrun the cloud at the end, and but then it cuts the credits literally like a second or two afterwards.
Yeah.
So, this movie fared poorly with pretty much everybody. As you know, it would not be featured on the show if it did not have generalized, pretty bad reviews. Yeah.
It might be good and it just gotten bad reviews, but not
like Be Cool and stuff like that. But this is a type of film like, all right, there's many gripes that we, individually both of us had while going through this, and it was all a lot of the things were kind of similar, but we all had kind of major things. One. But I think that we both can agree that the movie was entertaining enough for the first 2/3. We spent most of the time riffing the film, but it was enjoyable. I was engaged enough. But when Forrest Whitaker's character dies, that's when everything goes down south, because now just like
that's beginning of Act 3.
Yeah, there's a half an hour left in the movie at that point, and I'm just like. One, this movie already is almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
This movie did not need to be 2 hours long.
Like I said, they keep on coming. It's a road movie. They keep on coming up on different obstacles. It's not where they go.
And I get that.
And it's like 3 of those obstacles could have been cut out or combined with other obstacles.
And I'm not saying that you have to have a shorter movie just because I want it to be. You can make this long and make it interesting. The problem being, they get into an easily avoidable situation sometimes. Not all the time. A couple of times it's completely legitimate.
There was the one point where they completely stopped during the forest fire because one lady was just like, I gotta fly and I don't know how to do that. But of course she was helping people.
It was bait for people to steal their
stuff. So was it like
that? Tell me some gas right now.
Everybody in that entire situation would have just been like, all right, she's there just standing outside her vehicle in a forest fire. Let's drive around. And everyone said that except for Will, who was like, I just want to see what's happening.
Yeah.
I just want to see what's happening.
Yeah. And just I'm like, well, why? Why are you even bothering?
No.
Why are you doing that? See,
And so we can get some tension in the car chase.
And it's funny, too, because they needed to have a car chase somewhere. And that also kind of goes back to this brings me to like the one part of the movie that I had the problem with the most. Yeah. The editing of this film is fucking garbage, in my personal opinion. Okay. The editor for this does not understand a lot when it comes down to creating continuity in action sequences. Half the time, a scene would end, and we would look at each other and kind of go like, what the fuck just happened in that scene? Yeah. And it wasn't the fact that what the story was trying to say was anything all that deep or significant. No. It's just editing-wise, I could not fucking tell what's going on.
It wasn't the scene from Matrix Reloaded with the fucking architect. We were just like, this is so, like, the plot in this is so deep. And no, the plot's very simple. They're trying to get to Seattle. It's just that we were sitting there like, what's happened? Hold on. Like, the whole thing, we lost the mom. We
don't know where.
Lost her. We saw her talk to the Forrest Whitaker's character.
And I guess just whatever happened between the two of them was just so not, was it like memorable, I guess, to a point in which that we lost her.
We lost her.
She's just gone. She's in the ether now.
Like, okay, good, at least from my perspective, a decent comparison. The original Cloverfield movie.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, they put people on copters or whatever, and there's one woman who's separated from the group and put into a different copter.
Yeah.
They made it very clear. They had the camera follow her all the way until she was being lifted up and out, and we made it very clear she is out. She is gone. She is not on this anymore.
Yeah.
This is like the opposite of that, where it's like all of a sudden the mom just disappears. Sure, they probably had a line or something explaining it, and we were like, we just missed it, but
maybe
you can do a little bit in a visual medium to show where the mom's going.
There's the one part where they're outside of the prison, and the guy is like holding the gun on them because they crash into a ravine, and all of a sudden Forrest Whitaker just magics right behind him and clocks him on the back of the head.
From the passengers. No, was he driver's seat?
He was originally in the driver's seat.
He was in the driver's seat. And then the guy came in from the driver's side.
Yeah.
Aimed at Will.
So I'm guessing he obviously was out of the car already.
Or something, I guess.
Yeah, it was like, well, it looked like he got out of the car intentionally because he just. But at the same time, though, it doesn't make sense.
But that's
with the timing.
That's also where he broke his ribs. That was the accident that caused that.
Yeah, exactly. So how the fuck did he get out of the car that quick? Now, of course, you could say, oh, it was adrenaline or something like that. Yeah. But no, I don't. This is a mix between poor screenwriting and poor editing. Mm-hmm. Now, I cannot honestly fault the editor entirely for this movie because the editor for this, Jason Ballantine, I think, or Ballantyne, or whatever how you pronounce his name, he has directed he has edited a handful of films before. The most notable ones, The Great Gatsby, which is 2013, which makes fucking sense. Yeah. I didn't like that movie either, but that was less for the editing's sake and more that it looked unfinished. Yeah. But also, he was the editor of the 2017 remake of It. Now, you know how well It did last year. Yeah. And, of course, me and all the movies that I have to watch.
This came out in July of this year.
Yeah.
This is very recent.
Very recent. We were looking specifically for Netflix original movies.
Yes.
But I know how well it was received.
Yeah.
And I know.
You gotta pause when you say it. Yeah. I know how well it was received.
And, this guy has... the only other thing that he edited from my past that I know of, like 10 years ago, he edited the movie Prom Night.
Whoa. I remember that movie.
Yeah, so do I. Not much to remember. Nope. But it's more memorable than this movie, ironically enough.
Yeah, no, I feel... Okay, so
And he also was an editorial assistant on fucking Fury Road. Mm. Like, he was a lot of people...
A lot of the coloring
makes sense.
Like, by the time we get to Seattle, there's...
So much orange.
There's ash clouds over everything. It's like completely coated in ash because volcanoes, I guess. But oh boy, was it orange!
It was very orange.
Oh boy, the color grading on this was just like, all right, just a dab of orange, and oops!
It's not even orange like the traditional orange and teal mesh-ups that you see. Yeah. It was just orange. And it wasn't
sky orange, water orange, person orange.
It wasn't also done in the way that Mad Max Fury Road was done because that movie was very hyper stylized from the get go.
That had super contrast of colors.
Yeah, it was meant. It was not just, and also it was to show that this apocalyptic world has been that way for a while.
Yeah, and by the way, we get an exact time frame on this. They head from Chicago to Seattle, 5 days. Technically 6. Yeah. Because he did sleep that one night, like the overnight in his dad's place.
Yeah.
Technically, the whole movie takes place over a week, but he gets to Seattle in 5-6 days.
Yeah.
So.
And then Seattle's completely gone. And then they're also just like talking about giant waves that crash.
Yeah,
and
like a tsunami or something.
I'm sorry. When they got to Seattle, the rubble. There's this one part where he's like at Sam's apartment and he's just looking out over all the devastation and stuff like that. One, I could barely see what anything is going on because everything was the same fucking colors tone. Yeah. So
with a bunch of post-production ash in front of the screen.
Yeah, so everything looked very flat. It's like, okay, there's rubble here. Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of rubble. I'm assuming the broken buildings and stuff like that. But then afterwards, when they get to the cabin and they start talking about the conspiracy theories and whatnot, but he's like talking about well, those waves getting that big. I'm like, what? Since when did fucking tidal waves come into the mix here?
When they get to the third act, when they get to introducing that character, it seems like they're on the verge of explaining how everything happened. But then he was just like, first off, the main character shut it down. He's just like, I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. No one knows what happened.
And that's okay.
And then they just are just like, okay, so no one knows what happens. If you want to leave that ambiguous, it's just an apocalypse, fine, whatever. But the biggest thing here is that they were saying all the stuff that they saw and they can still feel tremors happening every once in a while. They definitely outran the volcano. So there's definitely certain things happening.
Yeah.
They're just wondering why they're happening now. My money, center of the earth stops spinning. But hey, whatever.
The core.
It's the core.
Yes, and amidst all of the half-assed chase scenes and stuff like that, and in and of itself, half-assed. I want to take a step back. They're not bad scenes. Actually, they're very competently filmed and pieced together. Actually, this is some of the times where I actually didn't have a problem with the editing because it made sense. But the problem with why I call them half-assed is because they're only being used as a plot mechanic and not because the story goes through that process.
Yeah.
Like, one of my favorite road movies, and ironically enough, a post-apocalyptic road movies, is Cormac McCarthy's The Road. And the movie that was made off of it with Viggo Mortensen is very good. And they are on a mission to get from point A to point B, and they, of course, encounter people as they go along. But also, every single incident is not necessarily independent from one another.
Yeah.
There are some incidents that, because they're trying to outrun or outmaneuver some person or something like that, it gets them into something else. There is a sequence of events here.
The only thing that has any overarching thing is the fact of the punctured rib / whatever.
And then even then, that's just a stupid-ass plot mechanic, so they can just kill off the dad.
One perfect example of the scene, I don't know why they did it, they had that scene at the water park.
Yeah.
They come across a broken down old water park, like clearly before the apocalypse this thing was shut down. And the character of Ricky jumps down into the pool, claims that it's burning hot instead of cold because it was in the sun all day.
Yeah.
And then a Black Hawk flies over across. They do a thing about how she's from a reservation and Native American.
Yeah, she's the token.
And then that scene just goes away. And it doesn't impact anything afterwards. It didn't result from anything before. It didn't expand on any characters, really, except for a bonding moment. It was generally just...
And then, of course, she leaves the movie, like, not even 15 minutes later.
The weirdest thing is, she left the movie, I'd say probably halfway through Act 2. Maybe a little bit. But it was just after the chase scene. So it was just after, like, the big action moment. And they don't mention her at all. Nothing that's like she didn't take anything that they needed.
No, she just took her stuff. She
wasn't needed for anything later. Just completely, it was like it's an unpersoning from 1984. She was entirely just never there.
Well, that's the thing, because it's just like what happened with the mom character. The utility for this character is no longer necessary in order to propel the plot forward. So we're just going to get rid of them.
Okay, so I just want to give my view on this whole movie, what I feel like it was trying to get across.
Oh, yeah.
I feel as though this movie was trying to get across morality in the apocalypse. It was trying to
how
get
it's
across
changeable.
How everyone has these steadfast things, but everyone has their limits of when they're willing to just completely break. You get the main characters as the steadfast, like we are
law-abiding.
We will not break against that. You have Ricky being the character who's like the innocent kid, pretty much having to kill, and that broke her.
Yeah.
Every character along the way, you just get a little bit worse and worse. But it's in general things of like, you have the town being protected. They don't let him in until they say that like, oh, we know somebody. It's this person who runs this business. We know them. Yeah. So protecting the town. Where are your morals on that? The individuals. You're willing to stay with your husband, but to do that, you have to like help these people get gas. And
yeah.
It's wherever those are, until you get to the final scene where the morality is the individual. Like, or what are you willing to do for your loved one?
Yeah.
And protecting them.
Yeah.
And he's willing to kill for her. So that's where I feel the movie was trying to go. The problem with that being is that the first time that like the character pulls a gun out is like 30 minutes into their trip. Not 30 minutes I mean about 30 minutes in the movie too, but like 30 minutes into their trip, he's already willing to just like pull out the gun. It's unloaded as it's revealed later.
No,
but he's like totally willing to murder these people.
I think it was less about that and more about the fact that he knew that they were just trying to be intimidating because they figured that they had the upper hand. And they were obviously wet noodles because they just got of bolted as soon as that happened. But, I mean, I guess we could just go into final thoughts, honestly. Because...
Short review.
yeah, it is a short review. But at the same time, though, that's the problem with it. There's not a whole lot of substance here. It's very well put together. I mean, let me rephrase. It's visually, it's very well put together. The cinematography is very good.
Yeah.
The practicals are decent. There's a lot of stupid-ass gunfire. There's a lot of bullets spraying back and forth.
I will give them credit. The bullet count may have been completely wrong. Like, they have wasted 10 mags worth of bullets. They always made it very clear where they were getting their gas.
Yes.
They were always like, well, we're not driving cross-country on just one tank. We are losing gas along the way.
Yeah. And of course, the situations that are involved in the film... As we said, I had a problem with how some situations just didn't lead into one or into the other. There was like kind of just isolated vignettes for the most part, like all that intimidating part where they're trying to get by that sheriff and that posse trying to get in town, and then they got into town. They were welcomed in and whatnot to that friend's house. The friend starts breaking down because she thinks everything is ended, the world is ended, everyone's dead.
Her husband was in San Francisco. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this whole thing started apparently in L.A. They just said that offhandedly. I don't know if that means anything, but...
Yeah. Everything always starts. It's in L.A. or New York or D.C. It's one of those three cities.
If you can't show the Statue of Liberty either underwater or frozen, what's the point?
But the overall, for my problem, is that the characters are not memorable. They're not fleshed out enough. Anything that happens to them, like them dying or them disappearing or anything like that, happens despite everything else because... there is not enough character development that actually bridges the characters together enough that any of these characters would care for one another to the degree that they do. Forrest Whitaker and Theo, whatever his name is, the two main characters. That dichotomy makes sense. They already established that, but like the shit with Ricky, that one, she's just a token character.
And like they keep on toying with it every once in a while of like, we're gonna go into her like abusive and like terrible upbringing. But we pull back.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm glad they pulled back.
We even said that. I was even saying like I'm glad that they didn't actually go into it because we got what was going on there with a couple of shots. But then they over-exposit so much other shit that I'm just like, okay, why in the world are you spending all this time on stuff that doesn't mean anything?
First thing, when they're going down the highway and they're stopped by the military, and he talks to the military guy. He's like, look, I get it. I'm ex-Marine too. I get it. But my daughter's out there and I need to do whatever I can say.
And he lets him through. The
military guy's like, let him through. He's local. He's after the next exit.
But a real military guy wouldn't fucking do that.
But then they also just hold on this guy. For just like an extra couple seconds.
Yeah, like he's going to have an impact in the rest of the story.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't. You never see him again. And overall, like, the score is generic. It's bland. Everything was way too orange. The ending fucking is not an ending.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about endings that are void of catharsis or something like that. This just simply was not an ending.
No.
It felt like there was another scene that just got chopped out. Overall, this movie is just very fucking boring after the first 2/3, and the first 2/3 is full of nonsense that you can make fun of.
Yeah. For me, yeah, it was.
And the product placements.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the product placements.
Yeah, it was. I was about to say that.
Whiskey, Cadillac.
Everything. Like, hey, how do you talk to people? You talk on your iPhone? Well, the main character does. What about Forrest Whitaker? Oh, he uses the new Windows 10 the Windows 10 phone. It's beautiful. It's great. It's awesome. It's the only phone that's working in the apocalypse.
Apparently.
For that one section.
Yet everything glitches like it's analog, but it's not. It's digital.
But no, for my final thoughts,
Anon did that too.
I didn't hate it, but it was mostly because we were making fun of it the whole time.
Yeah. As a group. Watch it as a group.
If I was sitting through this for 2 hours, just watching them go from place to place, like, there's a way to do that. I know there is.
It's called Lord of the Rings.
But this definitely wasn't it, because especially once Forrest Whitaker died, I was bored. I was just bored with what was happening.
Especially with Jeremiah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's salty because he wants to fuck her.
The moment he came on camera, we were like, well...
Because the way that they were...
know what you're doing.
His first reaction shot of them hugging, oh.
And you were saying that, like, he held the gun on. I was like, we don't have anything here. And then Sam came out and was like, oh, Will. And he kept the gun on him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, no, you're evil. We get it. Moving on.
Yeah, it was so fucking stupid.
But no,
bland cliches.
With me, I can't hate it for its cast. I can't hate it for its general idea.
No.
But I can hate it, like you said, for the editing. In post, the color, man, just... I get it. Like, they probably actually did some sort of research. I'm sure that, like, if the sun were blotted out by ash, it would look something like that.
Yeah, but also, like, you know, when the electric storm happens and then never happens again.
And that's the other thing, is that, like, a lot of this stuff is just like, hey, God's trying to kill you, but he'll only try once each way. It's like a plague sort of situation.
Cross the kind of journey through plagues.
Sure, you'll go ahead and get the lightning here, and you'll get a deer there, but no, for this, the biggest problem I feel comes down to the fact that it sets up a lot, doesn't revolve a lot, and then it doesn't set up the stuff that it, like, just ends in the third act. That thing with the fucking Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Started third act, ended third act. But we don't learn about the military man. Ricky
never had third act characters.
The ending of the movie just stops.
Yeah.
There is no ending. So when it comes down to any sort of feeling good about any plot point, nah.
I'm not done with
So no, that's all I really have to say, and those are our thoughts on
how it ends.
Well, Matt, that was a good review, but we've got 3 fronts of the apocalypse upon us, and we're out of time.
Make that 2. What do you think I've been doing this whole review? I got this zombie situation clocked.
How so?
With Infection, free in the App Store now.
Wow, Matt, that does sound pretty cool, but I've got my own experience to deal with the nuke issue.
What?
That's right, I'm a software engineer, and I play Planet Bomber, also available on Android and iOS devices.
And we don't have to worry about that moon crashing.
Hold on. Nope.
They're checked and clear?
Nope, we can't plug them.
Okay.
Damn it.
Made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.